feeding the hungry, alleviating homelessness, saving puppies. These are some of the things we think of when we think of charities. But what about being tall? What about the suffering of hitting your head on every light fixture, of ducking through doorways in order to enter a room? There's a charity for that. And it's real. Which raises the question, do charities actually need to be solving specific problems? And more importantly, are the charities we think are saving lives actually doing that? Or are we just better off Venmoing your tall friend every time they hit their head on something? I'm going to tell you about 3 of the weirdest charities I was able to find. Then we'll get into some tea about some of the charities you definitely know about. The organization is called Tall Clubs International. If you're a woman, you have to be 5'10", and if you're a guy, you have to be 6'2". Everybody has to be above a certain height to be able to be part of it. They've been around for 90 years. Tall Clubs International has brought tall individuals from all walks of life together to share experiences, build lasting friendships, and create lifelong memories. Oh my gosh, over 4,000 members. Okay, it was started by this lady, a tall young woman who got a little tired of being teased about the short men she was coloring for Walt Disney Studios at the time. What? The young woman was Kay Summer Einfeld. Oh, she was coloring for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That is irony upon irony. And you know what? In 1938, maybe it was hard to be a tall woman. I can think of a few other things that were probably harder, but she did something about her feelings. And it's lasted 90 years. Oh my gosh, they have a conference. They have a tall tour event where around 1,000 people attend, pass out business cards to each other, just a ton of tall people getting some networking. Oh my gosh, I'd be so scared if I was this lady. Like, I'm the shortest of all the tall people. I'd be afraid to get kicked out. Can you imagine being at this event as a tall person, but always feeling like you have to really straighten up because you gotta belong, man? Can you wear heels? I might be able to reach that with some heels. Or is that illegal? Is that like not allowed? Is wearing heels appropriation? No, forget I said that ever. Oh gosh. They have a scholarship program. Do they only give scholarships to tall people? Yes, the focus is on funding scholarships for students under 21 years of age. And if you're a girl, you have to be 5'10" or above. And if you're a guy, you have to be 6'2". You can get up to $1,000 for school. They have a pageant, Miss Tall International. I thought that there was already a pageant for tall people. I think it's just called modeling. This is Miss Tall International 2023. I love that. I love that so much. Finding the Tall Club was an impactful part of her life. She couldn't wait until she was old enough to join. She gained most of her height in her teen years and was still growing. Her parents were not tall and were not fully tuned into the challenges she was experiencing. What are the challenges? Maybe she'll talk about it. Shelley's platform is to encourage dialogue around tall teen concerns and create more awareness. What? Of what? It's still a need today. What is? What's the need? There we go. Club members often express there's nothing like physically standing eye to eye with tall peers. Oh, okay. So a sense of understanding. Sharing experiences, not feeling like you're head and shoulders above the rest, and not having to answer questions such as how tall are you? How's the air up there? Or do you play basketball? To name a few. Wow, that does sound difficult. So that's Tall Club International. It sounds like just some tall people wanting to hang out, get together, and they're a 501c3 organization. What do you think about them? Helping Hands Monkey Helpers, which is exactly what it sounds like. They are giving people monkeys for help. It's on the list because it's weird. It for sure sounds weird. The concept is weird, but they're actually helping a lot of people with a very painful problem. They help people with mobility issues and different types of disabilities to have a monkey helper. So this monkey isn't just emotional support. These monkeys are trained for years to be able to pick up things, reach things, help people with their daily tasks, which it makes sense that they're trained. If I couldn't move and somebody gave me an untrained monkey, it wouldn't feel like help. It would feel like a punishment. Can you imagine not being able to move and then being just given a wild monkey and take care of that? Do you like that? But unfortunately for for the monkeys. It takes a number of years to train each one, so every year only a couple are given to their adoptive families. Many laws also don't recognize monkeys as service animals, which, why? They have thumbs. Dogs always get to be service animals. Also, many states don't allow primates in homes. So given all these barriers, the organization is shifting its focus to, you guessed it, robots. The other being with opposable thumbs. The organization is now called Envisioning Access. Their mission is to collaborate with tech startups and universities to develop innovative assistive technology to assist people living with physical disabilities. But they, even in their website, stay true to where they came from, monkeys. They tell the story here on one of their about pages, which is awesome. They're mostly focusing on robotics and prosthetics and developing technology that can help people with mobility issues. The last charity I have for you guys are actually two charities, freebies, and they're closely related to Burning Man. Yeah, the festival. If you don't know what Burning Man is, well, let me tell you. Every year, thousands of people gather in the Nevada desert to express themselves. That's the focus. It's partially a music festival, partially an art festival, partially they're building an entire city in a desert for 1 week and doing whatever they want, dressing however they want. Tickets for this festival are usually around $600 a person. And while people are expressing themselves in the desert, they need a way to get around. That brings us to the charities, the Reno Bike Project and the Kiwanis Bike Program. Both of these charities heavily rely on Burning Man, and they want to provide bikes for these people who go to the desert for $600 each to express themselves, which sounds awesome. But what does it have to do with charity, you ask? Well, they're actually providing discounted and very affordable bikes for people to get around this festival, and the proceeds of that are what they fundraise in order to have bike programs for the communities, such as a bike shop and a ton of different things. They help kids who can't afford bikes have bikes. They help people learn how to fix their own bikes and become a community hub that does a lot of events. All of this leads us to the question, what even is a charity? What is the difference between a 501c3 organization, nonprofit, and a charity? Most charities are 501c3 organizations. That means that they are classified by the IRS to be exempt from tax. And the donations made to these organizations are tax deductible, which is why you can get your little receipt at Goodwill. Charity, on the other hand, is just a term. It's a term for something that helps someone in need or causes some sort of well-being in society. It's a term that the IRS uses within the requirements to be a 501c3 organization, but really it's more of a perception of what we think a charity is. So this is why technically helping tall people is a charity. They give scholarships to people, they help fund education. The IRS has a list of things that organizations need to meet in order to be considered a 501c3. The list is also really broad and up to interpretation. They have to be either charitable, religious, scientific, literary, some sort of public safety testing. It can be an amateur sport. It can help prevent cruelty to people, animals, kids, vulnerable populations. All of these things are able to be considered by the IRS as a 501c3. For example, FIFA was considered a nonprofit organization out of Switzerland, but they had a ton of controversy. They generate billions of dollars in revenue, and that revenue is supposed to go back into the sport. But, of course, the controversy was that a lot of the higher-ups were using all of these funds for personal gain. Swiss authorities uncovered $150 million in bribes, systemic bribery, all kinds of corruption. But let's get back to the excitement with the IRS. Another of the qualifications is that these organizations that qualify as 501c3s aren't able to be making one person rich. The revenue has to be put back into the organization, and you think that that means the revenue has to be put back to helping the people that they say that they're helping. But that's not necessarily the case. In fact, a nonprofit can legally use 99% of its revenue to fundraise for more money. So sometimes that revenue gets used to pay the salaries of people who are fundraising, to make fundraising events, and then only 1% goes to the actual cause and the actual population that this organization needs to be helping, or says that they're helping. Even though it makes it sound like since the revenue goes back into the organization, then a CEO wouldn't necessarily have any personal gain, right? Because the organization shouldn't exist to make one person rich, but some do. Some who do this are churches. Eagle Mountain International Church uses some of that money to fly privately and have flown to places like Maui and Fiji, and often get a lot of backlash about why they're doing this, but they're able to justify it for the ministry. Jesse Duplantis, who literally said if Jesus were alive today, he'd be flying private.
Now, some people believe that preachers shouldn't have jets. I really believe that if Jesus was physically on the earth today, he wouldn't be riding a donkey. Think about that for a minute. He'd be in an airplane preaching the gospel all over the world.
Yeah, that came out of his mouth. Supposedly with his brain processing the words before they came out of his mouth. Supposedly. So a nonprofit doesn't necessarily mean that it's not making profit. It means that no one technically owns the profit. It has left a lot of room for people using it in ways and justifying it in ways that it's part of the organization. But is it? Or is some of it just luxury lifestyle? Another of the requirements is that nonprofits have limited political activity, which we know is often not the case, and it's not regulated. These requirements often have little oversight. One organization, the Kids Wish Network, they claim that what they were doing was granting wishes to kids with serious illness, which sounds like a great thing to do. But reports found that only 1% of everything they fundraised was actually given to kids with serious illnesses to make their wishes come true. So what is the other 99%? It's fundraising, marketing, positions in the organization. So there are a lot of these charities who spend a lot of their money just asking for more money. And that's why these charities can be run like charities, they can look like charities, and then still not be helping and doing what they say that they're doing. And it's legal, which makes the whole thing more complicated. So how do we know that a charity's legit before we donate to it? Well, there's organizations like CharityWatch. They basically rate charities on how they spend their money. They look at things like how much actually goes to the cause that they say that they're helping versus how much goes to overhead, salaries, and fundraising. And if you go into CharityWatch, I think you'll be surprised to find that a lot of really well-known charities actually have a very low score on how they spend their money. Cancer Fund for America and Teach for America are huge charities that a lot of people have heard of, but they actually have a very low rating on CharityWatch, meaning a lot of their revenue doesn't actually go to helping those people they say they're helping. But for example, Envisioning Access, the monkey charity, actually has a very good rating. It's a smaller charity, but they're making an impact with the money that they're fundraising. I started looking into weird charities for kicks and giggles, and then I stumbled upon all of this through different YouTube videos. I'm gonna link some in the description that I think do a really great job explaining some of this stuff. Anyway, all this to say, if you're tall, congrats! You might have access to some financial aid.